It came to my mind when I was thinking about space travel and the fact that there's wanting to put chips in our heads and have cybernetics. Now, there's many other reasons, but this particular reason makes perfect sense. Now, the vast reaches of space would be very difficult to maintain law, to maintain control of a populace. And how can you do that? How can you keep from the freedom of space and maintain organization of government ends? Well, if you put chips in people's brains, and you put cybernetics in them, that means they'd be controllable, at least within the solar system. Or within the recent vicinity of the moon or Mars. And if we ever get faster than light travel, then they could send waves that fast also to control. Or, of course, they could put, protocols, programs, and whatnot, or even in your ship's computer to keep control of you. And that's one reason I think they might be wanting to implement chips. Of course, it probably ends up, it looks like the mark of the beast. And, it may well be their attempt or that direction. They may be having completely different ideas, being, of Luciferian beliefs or other, even atheists. Or, strictly satanic but not care, and have their own, idea completely ignoring the scripture, but end up fulfilling it. I'm not sure, I'm fairly certain that it's not going to happen this time. In fact, I know it, or I don't know it. I never let your guard down, never let your watch down for the mark of the beast, regardless. A lot of people in churches want to say, well, there's the rapture, so all the Christians will be raptured and we won't have to deal with the mark of the beast. We won't have to deal with false prophets. So if I'm here being a Christian and I've been raptured, then it's not the mark of the beast. Well, that's a false doctrine. It never says that in the Bible. That's a extra biblical doctrine. And it's deceptive because that's what it's going to cause you to do, is take the mark of the beast, because you'll think you're safe. You'll think, I don't have to worry about it because I'll be raptured before that happens. I'll just go with the government. But I mean, there's not too many Christians who, faced with this, that are that foolish. Not real Christians anyway. Now, there's church Christians, of course, who are strictly gay church and trust the government entirely and want the Christianity to follow the government and just be complacent. But, those fake church, gay church Christians aren't real Christians. They're following another Jesus and another spirit, primarily. And they have no true Christian belief. Now, God, I've seen that God is going to rain fire. He's going to put a stop to it. I'm fairly certain it's not going to go through, because it's not how God, not how God sees it happening, and He's not going to let it happen a different way. So, He's going to rain fire all over and put this society out of commission, because He is tired of it. Because it is not accepting, it is not allowing for salvation, barely. It's barely allowing true Christians to exist. It has protocols that obviate miracles, or not obviate, but they preclude miracles and virtue enough to do miracles. It is possible, but you are under complete and utter oppression and suffering, such as I. So, and the bulk of people are being destroyed by complacency to perversion and blasphemy against the Spirit, which are being indoctrinated. And, it's pretty much looking like the end of Christianity, the end of salvation, the end of possibility of excellence, and it's going to turn into a bunch of people controlled by Skynet, as cyborgs, half cyborgs, whether they get to space or not, and they steer your mind with compound suggestion and constant immersion, and constantly organizing through a computer. So your mind is steered towards the computer organization, and the things you use to organize your album collection, your bills and everything are automated. Your album collection and your movie collection and your skills and talents and whatnot, those still exist. They're mostly organized by computer, and they're all just one stop direction of organization, and it all steers people to think we're gonna implant computer chips and have cybernetics to enhance our and give us superhuman abilities. But they're using mind control already, and they're using all this indoctrination in every single facet of life, and constant media and institutional immersion for subversion. And they've got it to where they can use direct mind control, and you think they're going to do that less with, and they're doing it to get you to believe in cybernetics, and to acquiesce to a chip in you and cybernetics to be installed in your body and brain and nervous system, and then they're promising you superhuman abilities, and you think they're not going to use it for more mind control, which is absolutely ludicrous, because they're using mind control already as much as they can, and you think they're going to do it less with a chip inside of your brain, you're out of your mind, or in your hand, or in any part of you, and partially replacing you with cybernetics. No, you're not going to have superhuman abilities. You may have some extra strength or processing, but it's not going to be free. You're going to be controlled utterly. And they've got the computational law they're planning at Mitre Corporation. They're studying it and planning it. They've got Skynet over at Mitre Corporation running drones with a machine-to-machine interface to enhance the decision-making capabilities of the intelligence community, controlling IPAs. They're predator drones and stuff. That's a fact. It's called Skynet. It's been around since 2.1 they had in 2009, or 2008. It's in the 2009 annual reports of Mitre Corporation, which aren't listed anymore. But if any of you want a copy, I've got them. I can give you a copy of the file. And they're wanting to set up a completely automated justice system with drones, drone police, and have you judged and sentenced by computers. So the populace will just be completely controlled by Skynet and computers. And they call it Skynet, so you think, oh, this guy's a fucking nut. He doesn't know anything. He believes in movies, and that's why they call it Skynet. So anyone who found out about it before they gained enough control to put it through will look like a fucking loon idiot, and that's what they do. And like I said, if you want a copy of the file, I'll give it to you. Just email me and I'll mail you a copy of it. It's a legit Mitre Corporation file. 2009 annual reports under tools for the warfighter, which is how I found it. And I'm sure most people don't want a chip and everything. Some people, there's people who are all woo, because they feel like the society tries to make you feel so stupid. If you're trying to make you feel like you're scared. You're scared because what you were told. You're under Machiavellian control. It's like no. It's just the opposite. See, and that whole Machiavelli thing is just that was a book they popularized for the very purpose to control you with those attitudes. They want people taking those attitudes and to think that religion is strictly a concoction for the government control. Of course, it was used. Anything is used, but that was a mid-level or low-level statesman. Low-level, noble statesman, and he had that attitude. A lot of the kings probably didn't, and the queens. A lot of them were quite pious. A lot of them, and they had a lot of them weren't. Neither here nor there, but they had their own. They've got their own tactics. So we're well above that. That's mid-level, and they popularized it to make everyone think that's the inside scoop, but it's really not. It's just mid-level, manipulation. They've got their own books. They hand-me-down books for the elite, and they've got the, I don't know this for a fact, but I mean, it's discernible from seeing their tactics. A lot of the things you see in society, like I saw a lot of the methods of deception and stuff in society, and then when I read the Order of the Golden Dawn, I recognized the exact same principles of deception, just different topics, and that's what I gathered from the Golden Dawn book was they're deceptive to the reader the same way that society is deceptive to its members. It's the exact same tactics. But they've implemented those, but they've got greater, more mass mind control tactics and strategies in the books. They've learned over the millennia. They study people, they do experiments on them, and that's what affliction means in the Bible, is to be experimented upon. And when you have powerful people and groups and sorcerers and statesmen and whatnot, and they you're free thinker and you're you're not following them, you're following God. They try and experiment on you, see what they can do to control you. And if they control you, they can control the rest. So they pull experiments on you, try and, start, screwing with you, see how you react and see how they can control things. And then they pass it down to the next, rulers. And that's happened for millennia. And they've learned a lot about controlling people. And they put them in these books and they hand them down. Or have, private printing for a new member or for, their children. And this is how they pass them down, and they've extracted some of the concept and made business tactic manuals for businessmen. I remember a friend of mine, or not a friend, he's not a friend, sort of, but a guy was in a band with, actually got me kicked out with these tactics. He had a book, and it was on business tactics, and I recognized it was like sorcery, and just little manipulation procedures of language and accusation and subtlety, and I'm pretty sure those are extracted from these. They're not the same as Machiavellian kind of stuff. It's the same kind of stuff that they use in social, a lot of social, and but these things are indoctrinated now, and they've learned to, I think they extracted them from these hand-me-down books and made a low-level version. They allowed that much. But they keep them secret mostly, and they're methods of indoctrinating these attitudes, which they have implemented, and use them for mind control to keep down those who would expose them or outdo them. They don't want any Davids. They don't want any hell, nowadays they don't want a Chris Cornell. They don't want a Robert Plant. They don't want a James Brown. They don't want a Jimi Hendrix or someone who is breaking ground, and Eddie Van Halen. They don't want even powerful musicians because it's a new millennium, and they can they want to grab control of this new millennium before anything else happens, because they want to make sure that their cybernetics are instituted and they have their energy storage money coefficient, I guess you could call it. They want to have the money and based on energy standard instead of oil. Which of course they'll still use oil, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going on because of the whole energy storage thing. But it's kind of that may have been a ruse. I don't know, I don't think it is, because it came from the horse's mouth, or not the horse's mouth, but I got it from Mark Lutz. So, it's when I correlate currency with energy usage, like currency and circuit bank and social programs. It's all, they're trying to automate everything, even in your mind, and with the currency for power. And it's it's pretty bad, what's going on, and there's not a whole lot. If people don't speak out in public, there's not much we can do about it. And I remember when I was in Anchorage, I didn't hear anyone, back in the 90s and even the early 2000s, people would say things about the government. Not so much in the early 2000s, but some. But, nobody speaks out against the government too much anymore, or even up against society. No one wants to say anything, because, then they end up under oppression. And because, they want to make sure that anybody who, gets people thinking or acting or doing anything against the plans of the government and the powers that be is oppressed and kept from working and kept from doing anything, and kept from having any effect. They have little things in the news to indicate that that they're being lied to, but they want to cover it up, and they don't want to admit it, and they don't want to see it, and they don't want to it creates a greater denial. So they lie to themselves for others to keep from seeing it, and then when someone brings it up from them, they want to put them in jail. They want to put them down. They don't want to hear it, because they don't have to face what's going on. And it's a more it's a method of control. And I remember I spent I spoke out a lot in Anchorage. I screamed down the street sometimes. And then, I remember after I screamed for a couple hours on the street, my chest muscles grew like twice the size in 2 hours of screaming. I don't know. And then, the next day, I didn't get arrested or anything. And the next day, people were talking about society or ills with it. So, they like to keep people scared and, ostracized and persecuted. But, if you speak out in public, against, the cybernetics, against the, perversion, against the mind control, the sorcery, these things that aren't supposed to be talked about, these things are considered insane. These things that are considered, paranoia, fiction, these things are considered, no-nos to talk about, because, you raise too much on those subjects, you might get put in a loony bin, and you might get drugged. You might get incarcerated, put in a pharmacopoeia institution, and, brainwashed and conditioned to, they want to get you to think like, complacent to society. And, it's what they do. They say, oh, you're going to talk about sorcery. You're committed to your faith. Well, we'll commit you to this mental institution, and, feed you pharmaceuticals to, and then condition you. We'll put you in this pharmacopoeia institute. It's a further form of sorcery. That's just sick. It's that smart ass, and it's but it's worth it, because God's gonna rain fire soon, and He's also, even if He didn't, we're gonna end up cyborgs, and if you don't, your grandchildren will. So care about them. Care. Care what happens to your grandchildren. Care about truth. Care about love. Have some morals. People want to say morals are just rules come up with by people to control people. Well, they're not. People are controlled a lot easier if they're profligates. Morals are there, for one, for eternal life. because it's virtuous and it builds virtue and discipline. You know, if you discipline yourself and use your strength to keep from doing what is highly tempting and pleasurable for something greater, say, you know, marriage, okay? You've got marriage where you have, you know, a spouse that is who, you know, you love most. And you can make love all the time and have constant companionship, and it's a wonderful thing, and be happy, you know. But you can't do that unless you keep from going around sleeping around all the time, you know. Or at least, you know, that's the general principle. Nowadays, everyone's, you know, so, you know, they got it so messed up that, you know, people want to cheat during marriage, and, well, it's faithful just to stay together even though we cheat. You know, and people think you're either psycho or a fucking queer if you're abstinent, or if you're, you know, don't sleep around all the fucking time. And, you know, that takes a lot of strength. You know, I'll sleep around if I can right now because I'm very weak and I don't have a lot of strength. But, you know, if I have strength, I apply it. And, you know, and it's just the principle I'm trying to talk about here is, you know, virtue. You know, allows for you, if you can do that, if you can discipline yourself against something that's highly tempting and pleasurable, then, you know, for something greater, then lesser things are going to be very easy to, lesser wrongs are going to be very, and, you know, more obvious wrongs are going to be, you know, easier for you to control. So you're going to be a better person overall, and you're going to do what you think is right. You know, if you discipline yourself to a higher discipline for something that's, you know, seems somewhat contradictory. You know, I'm going to keep from, you know, having lots of sex so I can have constant sex with one that I love. You know, is you know, but you know, and you know, morals. Not only do they build virtue and have you do, you know, what you think is right and build a self-esteem that's sound and allow you salvation for eternal life, you know, even if you're an atheist and don't believe in that, what does it do for the future generations? Morals allow for and support, but now we don't even have allowance. It's so the allowance of good things is decreasing. They're all always slandered and oppressed, and, you know, called fake. The allowance and support of things, of what makes for the most beauty, what makes for the most excellence, what makes for the most love, truth, friendship, and, you know, honor, etc. You know, good things. That's what morals are. And, you know, people want to say, oh, they're just, you know, rules, but they're not just rules. They're not for controlling people with. They're, you know, you can control people who are profligates very easily because all you have to do is offer them pleasure and money. You know, if they don't have morals, they're controllable with money and pleasure. Someone with morals, a little bit more difficult to control. Now, yes, of course, they have in past implemented, you know, the fear of different things, you know, such as in everyone's favorite book, The Machiavelli, you know, keep them afraid, you know, but, you know, it's really a it's not a real book. I mean, it was written by the guy, but he was just a minor statesman, and he's telling, you know, he's writing about like he knows what princes do, you know, and he may have to some degree. But he was controlled by them. He controlled what was beneath him. And he was a dastardly son of a bitch, obviously, if you read the book. Now he talks about, oh, you know, he has good sounding stuff like, titles are not made to honor men, but men to honor titles. Well, okay, yeah, but the whole time, what's honoring a title to him? Honoring a title to him is manipulating and deceiving and, you know, holding your title, you know. So it's a usual manipulation ploy to make statements that contradict your constant flow of action and your constant flow of implication and course of conversation. So people think that because people, if you do that, people believe your statements. Of course, if you are honest and you make statements that line up with your flow of conversation, action, and attitude and implication, they don't believe you. They want to think you're full of shit because people just, I don't know what it is about them, but they love to be under control. And I think it's because they're scared of the power of the people and the government. Because if you tell the truth, you're going to be exposing the society and people and the government. And they know they're very powerful. And if they join your side, they're going to be under oppression and guns too. So they, so they don't want to believe you. They want to take the easy way out and believe a bunch of lies. Because that's what flows with society. Well, that's why God's destroying the society. It's always been that way to a degree. But not this much. This much is, it's absolute deceit. This society is absolute deceit. There's nothing but. And it's all, okay, we've got a nice, clean image. An image of freedom and whatnot, but it's all bullshit rhetoric, and it's all deceiving for, to make people, mindless, controlled, automatons, and eventually into actual cyborgs. And it's a sad thing.